Hello and welcome to Lutherans Alive. My name is Gregory Held, and this is the program that brings you the story of Lutheran Christians and their ministries in southwestern Pennsylvania. With us today is Pastor David Matthews. David's a technically retired pastor of Trinity Lutheran Church in Verona. David, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you with us today to talk a bit about your life and its relationship with Trinity Lutheran Church, but also this year celebrating a significant anniversary, the 120th anniversary of Trinity Lutheran Church's ministry in Verona. Anniversaries in churches are significant milestones in ministry, and you, as we just briefly mentioned, have a long-standing relationship and history with the Church of Trinity. Why don't we talk a little bit about the beginning of the church and then tie your story in with it as we go along.
Trinity started in way back in 1889, and for a while it was the people met in homes. I guess maybe typical to some of the churches that started back then. And also in the local Methodist church, some of the local congregations helped to support it. At the 120th anniversary, it gave us opportunity to go back and read some of the early history, and one of the things that was interesting was that the people that gathered and finally decided that they wanted to build a church building decided on a location and a piece of property, and they went to the owner. And according to the history, the man said, "There's no way in the world I'm going to sell this piece of property." And the next sentence in the history said that his wife sold them the piece of property. So they started, the building was built about 1902, and I think I'm pastor number 20 over the years. So they've had quite a long history there in the Verona area.
I think as we're active in ministry, it's not always easy to have that perspective of the long term. But I've always found it fascinating when you get a chance to look back at the different eras and the ministries of different pastors. There does seem to be a sense of the character of the person that shines through and the particular accent perhaps of their ministry.
One of the other things that was fascinating in that regard, because our history team at the time of the anniversary put together a little booklet and pictures of the pastors from the past and things that had been accomplished when they were there. And it really certainly gave me a sense of standing on the shoulders of an awful lot of people who had gone before. The way I reflected about it a little bit when I wrote something for the anniversary book was how runners run along and pass a baton, and then the next guy runs, and then they pass the baton, and the next guy runs. And you know, we're part of a long line of ministry of proclaiming our Lord in any given place, on any given corner, and our job is to figure out how to pass on the baton to the next generation.
Were you able to get much of a sense of what the Verona area was like in the early days, in that time of the beginning development of the church?
Well, just like the whole Pittsburgh area, it's gone through huge changes, of course, and I suppose the heyday for the church then had to do with kind of the heyday of the steel mills around, because Verona is a little town connected to another little town, Oakmont, and the Verona-Oakmont area up the Allegheny from Pittsburgh, up the Allegheny River, Allegheny River Boulevard runs right by the church.
That's right.
The heart of the community was a steel mill. And so during the time when steel mills were booming and the culture was booming, the church was booming, everything was going very well. And at this point, my father worked at that steel mill. I worked at the steel mill in summers, working my way through college and seminary. But right now, that steel mill is a piece of empty land. It's been completely leveled. And so it's a struggling little community, little town, like a lot of them are in the Pittsburgh area.
And your story dovetails with the story of Trinity. We were talking before the program. Early on in life, tell us how the Matthews family became associated with Trinity Lutheran Church.
Well, Trinity Lutheran Church has been there for 120 years. and I'm such an old man, I've been there for more than half of it. I was actually baptized there. On the day that I was baptized as an infant, my father, who was 25 years old at the time, was also baptized there.
Okay.
And my wife was baptized there. We met there, grew up. I was president of the Luther League, and she was the secretary of the Luther League.
Okay.
And we were married there, and I was actually ordained there at the church. And last week I baptized my granddaughter there. So we've been associated with Trinity Lutheran Church for a long, long time.
When was it that you saw the opportunity, or the Lord opened the door or a window that made it possible for your professional ministry to continue at Trinity, to bring you back home again, as it were?
Well, I started out as a parish pastor and got very interested in specialized ministry and went back and got my degree from Pittsburgh Theological Seminary in the field of counseling.
Uh-huh.
And then for most of my ministry, I was the director of counseling at Lutheran Service Society, and then for a while at Glade Run, and thought about early retirement. And then I thought, I think maybe I'd like to serve a little parish again. So went back and talked to the bishop, and turned out that Trinity was connected with Apostles Lutheran Church, also a wonderful little congregation over in Penn Hills, and figured, well, maybe I'll stay 2 or 3 years and then I'll retire. And that was 10 years ago, and I'm still enjoying where I am. So things are going well.
At that point, tell us a little bit about what kinds of changes take place in a pastor's life, moving from an area like counseling into parish ministry.
Well, I loved the specialized ministry. I really enjoyed counseling and administration and working in specialized ministry. It was really the Lord's work in social service ministry, an opportunity to kind of roll up your sleeves and do something where I felt that one of my gifts was, and I loved it. I enjoyed it. But there came a time that I began to think about maybe retirement or semi-retirement or winding down a little bit, and at least changing direction. This word retirement is kind of a funny thing. We have to redefine ourselves, I guess. And so the opportunity became available, and I've really loved and enjoyed this kind of ministry too. One of the big differences that I noticed between the two was that when you're in specialized ministry, working in mental health services or counseling or therapy services, there's an awful lot of paperwork. And everything you do, you have to document. And I remember going back into the parish, making my first pastoral call in someone's home. The time was finished. I walked out to the car and I thought, I don't have to write a big report in triplicate on this. I just have to let the council know I'm visiting. So it's one of the big pluses of parish ministry, and I've really loved both of them.
It is time for us to take a break, but maybe when we come back, we can talk a little bit about looking forward to the anniversary and the kinds of things that a parish and a pastor do together to prepare for a significant milestone like that. We'll be back in just a minute.